Jump scare.
All right. Welcome to week 7 of college football. You are watching the Down East Sports College Football Show. I'm Jacob Miller. He's Paul Phillips. We got Matt behind the mic again. Got a good show for you this week. Got a little top 12 playoff action, little ECU recap. Week 6 recap, real or fake. We'll go into the week 7 slate, give our pick sixes, and you probably got some Jersey games.
I got one for sure.
We'll get right on into it. If you're on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. We'll be reading stuff from the chat, whether it's football related or not.
Yeah.
On Twitter, give us a follow, retweet. Same deal with the chat there. We're trying to get real involved with people that are watching. So if you got questions, comments, concerns, or just want to tell us we suck, go right ahead.
We will agree with you.
We will agree. Like I said, Down East Sports College Football Show with the most opinionated takes, regardless of how right or wrong they are.
Usually wrong.
I try to get cute with my top 12 and get creative, and then you and I were talking pre-show, and it sounds like we're just the same person to an extent when it comes to thinking about college football shit.
We're both a little cutesy and creative.
Not
at all unique though.
Go ahead and just probably rip our top fours right off the jump. Number 1, I got Ohio State. Number 2, I got Texas. Number 3, I got Clemson. Yes, not Miami, Clemson.
No, I agree.
And number 4, representative from the Mountain West Conference, Boise State.
I'll get into mine. We have the same top 3. I got Ohio State 1, Texas 2, Clemson 3, and then I got the Cyclones out of Ames, Iowa. I got Iowa State sitting there at number 4 as the Big 12 champ.
I'm gonna do mine as kind of matchups here. 5-12 matchup, I'm gonna have the University of Georgia against Notre Dame. Schedule slight. I think they're just gonna kind of cakewalk into the playoffs and get embarrassed like they do pretty much every time.
Probably so.
6-11, I got Miami, Tennessee. I think Tennessee is gonna drop another game, if not 2. And Miami's going to lose in the conference championship game to Clemson. Easy enough. 7, I got Penn State playing number 10, Alabama. I don't know. 10 just felt right for Bama in the situation. They could have been 8, 9, or 10. And I decided to put them at 10 because F them.
Yeah.
And then my 8-9 matchup, I got Iowa State versus Oregon. So 3 Big 10 teams, 4 SEC teams, 1 Big 12, 2 ACC, Mountain West, and Independent.
Yep. I'll get into mine. I have the 5 seed Oregon Ducks with your 4 seed, the Boise State Broncos. I got Boise State going to Oregon for a rematch of a pretty good game.
Yeah,
that
was a good game.
That happened in week 2. So there's a couple of rematches you'll find in here. I have 6 seed Georgia playing what could be any mess of teams. I fought between like 4 or 5 different ones. I ended up going Ole Miss as my 11, but it could be them. It could be Notre Dame. You could even throw the way that they're playing so far, Pitt and BYU. BYU might be in the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
So I think that, and Pitt's still undefeated. So yeah. I think those are 2 teams to definitely look out for. But I'd say between Ole Miss and Notre Dame, I'm just going to lean Ole Miss because I don't think a team that's not in a conference that loses to a MAC school at home is going to be a rightful playoff contender. They're definitely going to be a contender, but I don't think that they'd get in there. So I got Georgia and Ole Miss. So that's another would-be rematch.
Yep.
I got 7 seed Penn State against 10 seed Miami. If you're a 90s college football fan, that's probably like
heck of a game.
That's probably like crack for you. And then
Chris from Trivia is just going nuts right now.
And then another would-be rematch. I have the 8 seed Tennessee Volunteers hosting the 9 seed Alabama Crimson Tide, and that's my playoff.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on BYU. Not so much Pitt. I just don't see the ACC getting more than 2.
I don't either, but
because I flirted with SMU, but I even was like, I just don't see it.
yeah. It's just the thing with Pitt is I expected them to be over 500, but like with a couple losses to this point, and here they are. They haven't lost yet, and so they just keep finding ways to win. So I'm not going to count them out until they're probably got to go undefeated in the regular season and make the ACC championship game for them to get in. But I don't see that necessarily happening. But I had to give them a mention at least, I think.
Sorry, I'm just watching the Tigers score there, and it looked like he pulled a muscle.
That's yeah, he definitely pulled something.
I don't know if I scared you with my Pitt take.
No, but I think BYU could take over for Ole Miss because I don't know if a 2-loss Ole Miss, possibly 3-loss, because I don't know if they win this weekend.
See,
I just you know what? As I say that, I don't know how I didn't put them on here. That will come later in the show. But yeah, I just don't know how much I trust Ole Miss right now. 2 teams from the Big 12 doesn't seem real, but it could be a possibility the way BYU is playing football right now.
Yeah.
As the Tigers are up 1 and Cleveland might be going to the pin here.
Another team actually that I did think about and forgot to write down in my notes here. Indiana could easily be that 11 seed. Indiana is a
very well
good football team. They could be 10-0 going into Columbus.
Very well could be. But I think you and I just kind of had the same thoughts there. Ohio State kind of seems to be the class of college football right now.
Yeah, with a close following. By Texas.
By Texas. I think Texas could very well be a 1-loss team and still be a 2 seed, especially with Clemson being the 3.
They could be a 2-loss team and be the 1 seed.
Yeah, it's Texas is going to be an interesting case study, and
a 1-loss team would be the 1 seed.
You know, as good as Week 7 slate is, we got a pivotal playoff matchup coming next week in Week 8 with Texas. We'll talk about in our Week 7 highlight, but I don't think they have much to worry about with Oklahoma this week.
I do not either. I'll get really in depth about that later.
Does that mean we have to talk about the crappy school that we went to college?
I reckon.
For those watching, I know we got a lot of ECU folks that watch. If you guys want to hop in the chat here and give your opinions on the matter, we're going to talk. ECU went to Charlotte this weekend, and we talked last week about how if they lose, this is a fireable offense, that this should be an easy win for us. UNC Charlotte was averaging 79.2 yards on the ground heading into this week. They had 311 yards rushing against East Carolina. They were averaging 291 yards of offense. ECU gave up 515 yards of offense and had 20 more minutes of possession. Team didn't come out in the second half. Looked like they gave up. Why Mike Houston wasn't fired Monday morning is beyond me. This is embarrassing. He's now lost to them in back-to-back seasons. We have been passed up, as we talked about last week, by James Madison. We've been passed by App State. We've been passed by Coastal Carolina. And now we've been passed by Charlotte. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
I have no other words. My vocabulary is not big enough to come up with another word. We're rubbish. That's a fun word.
Oh, yeah.
We're garbage, which is the same word.
Yep.
And I'm
trash, too.
Trash. Just throw them all in there. We
are stinky.
I mean, the fact that we could have been coming into this game 5-0.
Yeah. We should.
And we can blame those 2 losses on coaching. Liberty is not any blanking good.
No.
And
neither's
App. You gave up double-digit leads, and then you just came out and didn't even play in the second half. This team's given up on this coach. Fire Mike Houston. I'm done defending him. I don't care how many of these guys he kept this year. I don't care how great the defense has looked at times. And I know some people, the middle linebacker was hurt for us. I don't know our names that well.
Mike Edwards.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. I was going to say, I can't remember his name at this very second.
And that's the reason our rush defense wasn't as good. Yeah, that's the difference of 200 yards. What are we talking about? One player doesn't make that big of a difference.
No.
I mean, it's next guy up. And you just got torched by a trash program. There's no other words other than it's embarrassing. I mean, I don't know how the AD still has a job. because he's done nothing but make bad hires across the board.
Yeah.
We should cut funding to football and just give it all to. We're a baseball school. Screw it.
To be fair, Houston was not his hire.
No, you're right.
They basically came in joined at the hip.
Yeah.
But
you know, the
it
offense
doesn't mean he should still have a job though.
What's intriguing to me is we fire our offensive coordinator, or he steps away, however you want to put it. I mean, he got fired. We go out, we think we make a good hire. We were objectively wrong about that because he is not a good offensive coordinator.
I'm still holding out on it just because
with a team that's averaging 20 points a game. I mean, what are we doing?
Oh yeah, no, I agree. We
don't have a quarterback.
We go too fast.
Yeah, and I mean, we had 19 minutes of possession. It's just
I think we could have a quarterback if either of them would have time to think, and they don't. We're far and away. I think we're still far and away the fastest team per drive in the country, and it's either 3 plays and a punt, or maybe we'll get lucky and go score
a 3-minute drive where we score,
or it's
which I think is part of the reason why our defense is starting to look this bad. They're freaking tired.
That's what happened last year. Is that our defense we had a top 20 defense last year, and they just couldn't stay off. They couldn't get any rest. They couldn't stay off the field for more than half a breath. So, but there's no week-to-week adjustments, it seems like. There's no in-game adjustments. It's just we go in there with the wrong game plan and don't fix it.
No.
We go in there with the right first quarter game plan, at least early on we did, but now we can't even do that against a simply inferior team that we just made look like – I mean, all credit to Charlotte.
Yeah. No.
Because they went in there and just kicked our asses, to be honest. Exactly. And there was – zero we could do about it. But we didn't even. I don't think we even tried to do anything about it. Is the thing. I'm fully going in there. I'm fully fine going in there and losing that game if we at least show some improvement from not like just honestly strictly just from a coaching standpoint. And like I don't. We just flat out just got beat. We beat ourselves. We let them beat us multiple times over. It seemed like
3 turnovers. I mean, I put another ball on the ground this week. 2 interceptions. I'm going to go through the drive summaries here. 3 plays punt, 8 plays field goal, 3 plays touchdown, 3 plays interception, 3 plays in a punt, 5 plays in a punt. That's the first half.
Yeah.
Come out, score first drive in 7 plays, 6 plays turnover on downs, 5 plays punt, 5 plays punt. 7 plays, pick 6, 6 plays, punt. I mean, this is supposed to be somewhat of a dink and duck offense, and we can't do anything. I don't care if it's Hauser or if it's Garcia. They both suck.
Yeah.
Do you put the what's the freshman? I can't even think of his name right now.
There's the one Hodge kid, but I think he reclassed.
I'm still waiting on Raheem Jeter.
That's who I'm thinking of, Jeter.
Exactly.
Go throw Jeter in at this point.
He played one. He's not a freshman. He's just never. They just haven't played him. He played 1 drive last year against Gardner Webb, and that was it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, give him the ball at this point because what's gonna?
I mean, it's early.
We might not make a bowl game.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's still early on Hauser for us to judge that. I mean, we saw what he did last year against Big Ten defenses. Yeah. So like, I have faith in him. But 11 of 28 for 84 yards and a pick, not exactly what you want with a 3.6 QBR. I mean, Garcia threw the ball 8 times.
Yeah.
Honestly, the worst part about the entire game is what we did with London Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
He touched the ball 3 times and led us in rushing.
Yeah.
He had 2 huge carries, and then we just said, no, you're done.
You're
he
done.
just didn't get the ball again. He didn't. I don't even know if he came back in the game. I don't know if something happened that we just didn't see.
So obsessed with doing the opposite of what we did last season.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, people got so mad because we were just running the ball on every down and we couldn't move the ball. And well, now the rushing attacks are the only thing that seems to be working, and we refuse to run the damn ball.
It's crazy.
I mean, I'm a big run the damn ball guy.
Exactly. We had 12 more attempts than rushing attempts, and had 8 less completions than rushing attempts. 25 carries for 148 yards and a touchdown, compared to 17 of 37 for a $195, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. I mean, and obviously, what's his face?
What are Hauser's stats?
Hauser?
Yeah.
11 of 28 for 84 yards and a pick.
That's great. It's just I don't even know what to say about this team. You can't even expect them to win games anymore. I was going through the schedule the other day, and I mean, Temple, is that a for sure win? Because I don't think it is anymore.
No, they've proven that they can
Tulsa,
actually win a game.
Is that a for sure win? I don't think so anymore. You're going to lose to Army and Navy, so there's 6 losses right there. I mean, the over 6 is cooked at this point.
Yeah.
And honestly, it might be the best thing for this program not to make a bowl game. That way Mike Houston can't keep his damn job. Because, as we go back to talking about the AD, he ain't going to do anything about them until the end of the year. I mean, we're going to have to sit here and suffer with this. So
I'm all for an indoor practice facility, but not when there are buyouts to be made.
Yeah.
That can wait. We can reallocate some funds to different.
That's when you call the Minjies in.
So, yeah.
Or,
Grady White.
Grady White. Maybe Vince McMahon wants to give money to this university for the first time in his life.
Where's Sandra Bullock when you need her?
She doesn't like us.
I know she doesn't.
We lean a little too far right for her.
I'm just saying. Anybody.
But it's just.
Where's Mr. B?
Yeah, can Mr. Beast give us some money? Somebody. Just. How many more years does Houston have on his contract? 2?
Well, he got that extension. I can't remember how long it was for. Hold
on. But I don't know what the solution is for East Carolina right now.
2026.
Other than to burn it down and start over. So yeah, he's got 2 more years.
He makes over $2.25 million.
He's one of the highest paid coaches in the state.
Oh, I know.
And he can't win.
He makes 5 times more money per year than Biff does.
Yeah,
and Biff
just got his
Biff's 2-0.
ASS kicked. And didn't they beat the snot out of us last year, too?
No, it was 13-10.
Oh, that's it was that awful game.
That was another one of those games where our defense only allowed 1 touchdown and we still
lost.
Yeah.
The same thing against Tulane last year. That was a 10-3 game, I think,
against
a ranked opponent.
Yeah.
We allowed them to score 10 points, but our offense
it's like
more than 3.
SMU was a game at the half.
Yeah.
And then finally the defense just didn't have anything left in the tank.
Exactly.
So, I mean, for the bright spots on this team, and I don't mean to be all negative, but it is burn it to the ground right now. I mean, just burn it to the ground. This bye week couldn't come at a better time, but you're going to go to West Point and get your arse kicked. And I have no faith left in this team. That's about all I got to say about ECU.
I love how it went from burn the boats to burn it down.
Yeah, burn it down. Is it baseball season yet? Is it baseball season?
No, I'm not overlooking basketball. They're not going to be good. They're not going to be good at all. But I'm going to show up and pull for them because I think they're going to at least be fun.
Yeah, we might
be. They might surprise me and be good. But I'm going to continue showing up to football games and pulling hard. But that doesn't mean I have to be happy about where the program is.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean we can't have opinions about who should or should not be fired. And more likely, or more often than not, it's a should instead of a shouldn't. Also, the Cleveland, whatever you want to call them,
Guardians
has
taken the
lead.
lead in the top of the 7th here. The Gritty Tigs got to get it back together.
But yeah, Mike Houston, when he got that extension a couple years ago, they got him through 2026. So I don't know exactly what that buyout would be, but financial cost of let's see.
So yeah, can you see the buyout money?
Let's see.
Isn't it usually 70% of the contract? So if that'd be 4.6, 70% of that. So that's right around 3 and some change, ain't it? Quick math. Took a nap before the show. The brain's working.
Yeah, I reckon. This article is talking about if it happened in 2022, we would have paid him $5.6 million.
Yeah, so it might be in the 2s then.
But regardless, we'll
about
figure it out.
All I cared to talk about our poverty program until we got a game again. Thank God the next 2 weeks we only got to do one ECU segment because good Lord, is it bad.
Feel free to throw your ECU opinions in the chat because we'd love to hear them and read them.
Dadgummit, I almost bet on. I said it last night. DeBrincat anytime goal scorer, not to get off topic. First goal, they've already scored. Alex DeBrincat. About to turn the wings on. Speak of the devil.
I'm gonna get us into the next topic.
Go ahead.
I'm tired of that. We'll do a little recap of week 6. We can go ahead and start with SMU Louisville. I don't know what opinions you have on that game.
Kevin Jennings is that guy.
There you go. Yeah.
Kevin Jennings is that guy. There's one play that stuck out to me, and I don't remember what quarter it was, but I remember watching it and just being like, that was gross. He rolled out of the pocket, not a design run, but rolls out of the pocket. Nobody's open downfield, squares his shoulders up to throws, completely freezes the defense. And I think it had like 8 yards to gain, jukes somebody out, and ends up getting like 12 or 15 yards. I was like, all right, this guy's a dog.
The AP article says Jennings has best game of career as SMU holds on to.
I mean, he looked legit, and we were talking pre-show about how we thought Stone would be the quarterback heading into the year, and Jennings has just taken that and ran with it. We probably wrote off SMU a little too early.
Yeah,
because they're still right there contending. Who is their loss to?
Well, I thought it was going to be Nevada in week 0.
They ended up beating Nevada.
It was to BYU,
who's undefeated. So they have a good loss right now.
Yeah.
We were talking about
they were shaky early on, but they've pulled it together.
I thought they could be a possible playoff team. They still could very well contend in that conference. But he had him a day on Saturday. They didn't really
efficient as well.
Yeah, very efficient.
21 of 27 for 281. No touchdowns, but didn't need it.
No. The running back's name escapes me right now. He had a good game too.
Well, he also had a 59-yard rushing touchdown.
Yeah. They got a good dual threat quarterback in Jennings. Their ground game's good. Defense looks a little shaky, but the ponies pony up, man.
It's also a decent offense that they were facing too. I mean,
yeah, Louisville ain't no slouch. No, I know that's now their second loss, but probably takes them out of contention. But they definitely looked good.
Yeah, they only have one conference loss, so conference wise they're still around, good. But they'd probably at this point, the way their trajectory looks, probably need to.
Because I think they play Clemson, possibly.
They do, but I believe it's at. I might have been thinking of Virginia Tech from our preview. Let me see.
But I'll go ahead and move up to a matchup because I'm so happy that I might not have to talk about this team very much more.
Before you get to it, Louisville home against Miami and at Clemson.
Yeah, so they could drop 2 more easily.
And they get. They get Pitt too. Pitt's no slouch whatsoever. So they got some tough games. I think they're still a solid team. They're gonna need to show me some more before I believe in them in any of those games, though.
All right,
I'll let you get to
Ready
it.
To move it.
Yep.
Very happy. I probably won't have to talk about this team very much more the remaining of the season. Missouri went to Texas A&M, and that game was over at the word go. Oh, my God. We've been talking on the show for 3-4 weeks now about how Missouri's one of the biggest frauds in the country, and God bless if they ain't a fraud.
I bet on them
I told you I didn't feel good about it.
I know. But it just I haven't felt good about A&M, but like at least not they're a good team.
Yeah.
They hadn't shown me enough yet, but now I mean, the team benefiting the most is Notre Dame
Yeah.
for getting that
Oh,
win.
yeah. Which I'm curious if they would have started this cat instead of the bum they did start, if they would
Well-
be undefeated right now.
Well, the thing is, in that game potentially, but
Wait, did they?
he's not bad.
No.
Let's see.
I think A&M's going to be a feisty 8-4 team.
Connor Wegman. Oh, I hit the wrong thing. Good Lord. Sorry. Go ahead.
I just no. It was really just more. I think.
It's just a record prediction.
Yeah, I think they'll be an 8-4 team. I think.
Connor Wegman, an efficient 18 of 22
Yeah.
for 276. No touchdowns, whatever. Doesn't matter. They had however many rushing touchdowns. Wegman has looked good the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It would far cry from the Notre Dame game where he
Yeah.
was just terrible.
I think this one loss might be enough to keep Missouri out. I don't know
It might be.
where they are in the rankings still.
It's not a bad team to lose to, but
Don't they still play Alabama? They play Alabama.
They play Ole Miss. I know that.
Is it Ole Miss?
I can't remember if they play Alabama or not. Let's find out.
I thought they played Alabama, and that would more than likely be loss number 2.
No, it's they play Alabama and not Ole Miss. I don't know what I was thinking.
They play Alabama. They could still lose to South Carolina.
Yep.
I just
Because that's at South Carolina.
and I even think with 2 losses, you can't rightfully put that team in the playoff. You've seen
Yeah.
what they are now.
I mean, neither of us had them in there.
No.
I didn't really even consider them either.
I
That was
know they're not a good
just-
football
that was
team.
a backbreaker of a loss.
To another team that you had in your playoffs. Did I have them in my playoffs? I did not.
No, you did not.
The Ole Miss Rebs. Another game that was pretty much over at the word go.
Yeah.
They kind of right their wrongs after losing to Kentucky and have a pretty decent game against South Carolina, 27-3, I believe was the
It
final.
was.
I figured you probably have more to say about this game than I did.
Well, I had boots on the ground in Concord watching ECU, so I didn't get to really watch this game. South Carolina just kept shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, this was a game that Ole Miss very badly needed, and they showed how bad they needed it in a get back spot, and just it was obviously they didn't score a million points, but they just like you said, from the get go, this game was kind of just over. Ole Miss just
a little too much for them.
South Carolina just showed some lack of maturity in this game. Obviously, everyone saw the unsportsmanlike. I guess it was a taunting penalty. I can't remember exactly what the call was, but it was hilarious. But it happened twice too.
Brandering a gun or something like that.
Brandishing.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And then I don't know if anyone saw Jackson Dart's tweet about it after the game. It was awesome. But just South Carolina was just simply overmatched in this game. Ole Miss, especially Juice Wells, came out with something to prove. Juice Wells on 3 carries, 97 yards. He was just not even all over the place. He was just when they needed him.
He was there. Yeah.
Go find Juice. But
Ole Miss definitely still right there, but they've got they got one more hard matchup. They're another team I think if they're even with one of those losses maybe being to Georgia, I just don't.
Yeah. Is that game in Oxford?
See it. It is in Oxford.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't see it.
I think they're one of those teams that's just like right there on the fringe, like I mentioned earlier. But yeah, no, I really don't have a whole lot of notes on this game other than just it really wasn't much of a game. And it was a game that South Carolina did not need to have, a game that Ole Miss really needed to have. And it kind of just played out exactly like that. And Ole Miss in a huge get back spot in a tough matchup.
Yeah, and took care of business
big trap
in a big
game.
way.
Exactly, just handled business from the get go.
I mean, we talk about teams that come out of pivotal games and how they react. We'll get to another one here in a second.
Yeah,
but Ole Miss they passed their test.
Oh yeah,
And I I had to turn off unnecessary roughness this week when they
Yeah.
started to. I wasn't impressed with Georgia's win over Auburn, and I got pissed. I had to turn that off because I disagree with them in the moment about Georgia, but that's neither here nor there. Clemson at Florida State was the other game we highlighted. Only note I had from there is Brock Glenn could be the answer for Florida State.
He's at least not the problem.
Yeah. I think the score wasn't indicative of how Florida State played. I think Florida State actually played much better, probably the best they've played all year.
Yeah.
Clemson is looking better and better as weeks go on. They just weren't very productive on their drives. I had 2 blocked field goals instead of touchdowns.
Yeah.
Our producer's kicking things.
Yeah.
That's how angry he is about this Florida State loss, apparently.
Not happy about it.
He's just kicking and screaming on his way to the fridge.
Great movie. Kicking.
That is a great movie. But I completely lost my train of thought after he kicked the laptop.
I was way thrown off. That's fine that we moved. But I think, like you said, it's probably Florida State's best performance they've had, because even against Cal in their win,
yeah, they still didn't
weren't.
look great.
No.
I'm pretty sure they had to come from behind, but I saw a lot more fight from this. I think it's the first time I can truthfully say I saw a fight from Florida State. Went forward on multiple fourth downs. I think they were actually like 4 for 5 on fourth down.
That's a stat that I do not know for sure, but I can probably find out.
Matt and I watched a good bit of it when we got dinner Saturday night, but it looked like they could have came out of that half.
They were 4
especially
for 4.
4 for 4.
They're
Yeah, they were. I mean, this
crazy.
is again the best Florida State's looked all year. They're going to be fighting to make a bowl game at this point, but
I do not see that.
I don't
happening.
see it
They're already
happening
at
either.
5 losses.
Yeah, they'd have to go on a pretty historic run.
Just to go 6-6.
Yeah.
This game didn't do a whole lot for me as far as swaying my opinion on Florida State, but I think that now that Brock Glenn is he's starting to get his feet under him. a little bit.
Yeah.
They couldn't run the ball to save their lives, but the passing attack was all right. But yeah, a total of 22 rushing yards from Florida State.
Yeah, that
which
was a
is,
problem.
in the words,
that was the other thing.
we're J and P. In the words of the actual JP, Josh Pate, that's a padlock stat.
Yeah,
that you're not winning a game
No.
with 22 rushing yards. That's
that was the other thing I wanted to say about this game, especially about Florida State. And I know Clemson's got a very good defensive line. Florida State in the trenches, both sides of the ball, is just awful.
Yeah,
they're not good. They do not have the guys on the offensive or defensive line to compete with, the classes of college football.
No.
Well, obviously we can't do a recap. Usually we only recap the games we highlighted in the previous show, but we would do an extreme injustice without talking about 2 massive upsets against 2 highly rated teams. The number 1 team in the country falls to Vanderbilt. Dandy Vandy gets it done against the Crimson Tide, and that won't no fluke win.
Number 1.
Yeah.
That was never deserved. But oh my God, was that awesome? Because they flat out just got beat. Vanderbilt had the perfect game plan. They believed they could win that game. And boy, did they go out there and show that they could win that game.
I seem to talk about this guy about every week, but if you're into the X's and O's of football, check out Brooks Austin did I forget what he calls them, but he did a game or son of a bitch. Did a film study on that game.
That's an interesting title.
Yeah, it's son of a bitch.
SOB.
We just got demonetized.
Yep.
Yeah, we were never monetized.
But he did a film study of them, and Alabama runs a lot of cover 1 robber, which if you play any NCAA, you know exactly what that looks like.
Yep.
And Vanderbilt just flat out schemed them.
Yeah.
I mean, this had nothing to do with the players at Alabama to an extent, because I got something to say about that. And that's what I kind of brought up with earlier. When we saw pivotal matchups on which coaches came out, Kirby came out with his team firing. Ole Miss came out firing after a loss. Teams came out after a loss. Alabama came out after a win and was just sitting there licking their fingers still, blowing smoke up their hind parts. And that's what happens. That would never happen under a Nick Saban-led
No.
team. I think this is going to be one of the weaknesses of Alabama going forward is the lack of discipline. I said this last week. I think Georgia lost the battle. They ain't lost the war.
No.
Alabama might have won the battle, but they're darn sure looking like they're losing the war right about
yeah.
now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like you were saying about how this would not have happened under a Nick Saban coach team. You're hard pressed to find a quarter out of at least more than a quarter of bad football at any point.
You got
from a Nick Saban coach football team. Consecutively, the last 6 quarters of Alabama football have been terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just simply
From the second
not
half
good
of the
football.
Georgia game, yeah.
Like not just saying not good by Alabama standards, just not good.
Yeah.
Like there's bad football.
A person I rarely ever agree with is Paul Feinbaum, but he said on his show, I can't remember if it was yesterday or when it was, but that did Alabama, blow their playbook against Georgia? Did they give everything they had? And you look at how that game plan was against Georgia. It really looked like they pulled everything out of the bag.
A lot of looks that they pulled out in that game.
They might be out of gimmicks.
They might be.
And
which I hadn't even
obviously both
that.
of us put them in the playoffs still, but we're not talking.
They're not.
This isn't
they're not
Alabama where you're worried about them winning a national championship. I think they're a good football team. I don't think they're a great football team. What that says about other teams in the country, I don't know. There's a lot of football left to be played, a lot of big matchups left to be played. But yeah, Alabama losing to Vanderbilt is not something I ever thought I would say a day in my life.
Glorious.
I
I loved every second of it.
To another top 10 team that dropped in the SEC. Tennessee loses to Arkansas.
An Arkansas team that's sneaky, all right.
Yeah.
They're
Sam Pittman has saved his job.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that he's completely off the hot
seat. A guy who I just simply don't think is that good of a coach.
Great offensive line coach.
Oh, definitely.
Loved him
because he's built like all of them.
Yeah.
But he figured something out this past weekend because boy did it. I mean, it wasn't some explosive game or anything, but he just figured out a way to put his team in a position to win a big time football game.
That really seemed to be what was the difference maker there, if I'm remembering correctly.
It was 35.5 to 24.5, but the time of possession in the Vandy Alabama game was crazy. Vandy had the ball for 42 minutes.
Yeah, they had the ball the whole game.
Check that, but time of possession is what killed these top teams.
What was a funny thing from this that I saw, and then I can't remember what year it was, and I think it was Dobbs was Tennessee's quarterback against Kentucky.
16-ish.
Yeah, they lose to Kentucky because Dobbs runs out of bounds.
Yeah.
With no time left.
Exactly.
On the exact same yard line that Nico ran out.
Yep.
And we talked about it a little bit, I think, last week with Tennessee, where we saw kind of Nico looking like a freshman. You saw it on full-fledged display, prime time.
Yeah.
He looked like a freshman. And not saying that this kid isn't going to be a stud down the line, not saying that this kid isn't any good, but his inexperience could be detrimental to Tennessee this year.
It could,
especially when
not long term, but in the current
in the current season,
for the rest of the
season,
I'm sure he'll grow up a lot from that game too, and he'll
learn.
He's gonna be kicking himself about that. And
but
there's plenty of room for improvement there. But
they still got to play Alabama. That's going to be a tough matchup for them.
Tough.
It's in Tuscaloosa.
Yep.
They got to go at Georgia.
It'll be a tough matchup for Alabama.
Yeah. No, I mean, it isn't going to be an easy matchup.
I was correct. 42 minutes of offense, of offense.
Dandy. But yeah, they got 2 hard road matchups, and which I believe that was at Arkansas.
It was.
So, and SEC road environments are not easy. I don't care who you are.
Playing. Yeah, honestly,
including Vanderbilt.
I was going to say, there was a lot of crimson in that stadium, but the Vandy fans that showed up were loud though. You could tell on TV there was some noise in Vanderbilt Stadium, and that doesn't happen a whole lot. But they found something to cheer for finally. But Arkansas. And it doesn't matter if Arkansas is 0-11 going into the last game of the season. They're going to show up and be loud.
Yeah.
And Tennessee found out about that this past weekend.
Well, I don't think there's much more of a better segue here to get us into the real or fake. Leading off as real or fake number 1, Alabama.
It's tough. I think there are obviously no one going into this season expected them to be the Alabama of, I say old, but I mean the Nick Saban Alabama.
Yeah.
I'd still say that they're real. It's just you have to think about more than just name brand. Like you got to think about where they're at, like where your expectations were of them going into the season. And this was not on my list of things that I thought would happen to Alabama this season.
No, when we were thinking about their losses, this wasn't one of them.
This is a team that just lost to Vanderbilt, but just the week before that beat Georgia. So I'm not out on
if
Alabama
it isn't
yet.
for one miracle play, they could be a 2-loss team.
Oh,
right
I know.
now. And
they
with
lose that
another
game.
Loss, another possible loss on the schedule.
Exactly.
And I don't know if a 3-loss Alabama with losses to Vanderbilt, Georgia, and Tennessee gets in.
No, definitely.
Now they might get away
not.
with it with maybe just losses to Tennessee and Vanderbilt.
If they blow that game to Georgia, but even still with a loss to Vanderbilt, it's
going to be tough sledding for them going forward.
It definitely is. But I mean,
now to the other side.
I was about to say that's a good segue right there.
Now to the other side of this game, Vanderbilt goes 7-5, goes over 500. I'm going real
500 or above, definitely. I would. That's how I feel at least. 7-5, I could definitely see it. I'm going to say, as far as the possibility of that, I'm saying very real. Whether I think it'll for sure happen or not, I couldn't tell you. There's a very real possibility of Vanderbilt going 7-5 for sure.
I'd have to agree with that. Next, SMU is an ACC title contender.
Yes,
I'd have to go real. The ball's starting to move in the right direction for
definitely. Them. That was a big win that they picked up against another at the time contender. I don't know if Louisville they've taken a big step back as far as a contender. Only one conference loss, but
now you're sitting there with
what are they at 3-2 now? Louisville is. So
you got undefeated in conference. You got Pitt. You got Miami. Who God, I should have put Miami on this list.
Yeah,
because they've looked rough the last 2 weeks.
We pull up
another comeback win for them.
Currently.
Pitt,
undefeated SC or
Clemson,
AC, Virginia. I forgot is 2-0. Anthony Calandri has got himself a wagon over there. He's quarterbacking a team that I thought was going to be
awful,
not very good this year, and I knew he was going to be good.
I bet against them.
Calandri is one of my favorite quarterbacks in the ACC. He's just fun, but yeah, we got Clemson, Miami, SMU, Pitt, and Virginia are your undefeated. Your in conference teams, teams for the ACC.
Fourth on real or fake, DJ doesn't start another game for Florida State.
I think that could be real too.
I think if you're an FSU fan, you want it to be real.
No, he will, because I don't think he's got another year eligibility. So senior day, he's going to start.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. That kind of poo-pooed.
At least I can only assume he would. He might get out there for a drive, but I think outside of that scenario, I don't think he would. But just given him being, it is his 5th year in college football.
Yeah, 5th or 6th.
So I'd say that's the game he would start if he were to start one. But I'd say real just because of that. But if he wasn't a 5th or 6th year guy, then no, definitely not.
Last on real or fake for this week, Ole Miss. And Ole Miss might be my new fakest team in the country, regardless of how they played against South Carolina.
Yeah. They did impose their will on South Carolina, but I feel like that they were also just a matchup problem for South Carolina. It's tough. I don't know. I'm going to say fake, just not to just agree with you, but I've said real for everything else.
Yeah.
So I feel like I got to throw a fake in there. Out of all of those, I'd say that's the one at least closest to a fake. Or real as in like they're fraudulent. But yeah, I think they're pretty fake. I'm gonna have to see more of them down the stretch. They still have. I was about to say they still have some other tests,
gap.
but really not a whole lot of juice left on that schedule.
No, not really.
So I don't know. We probably won't find out until they
I think it's
potentially
gonna
go to
they're
Atlanta.
going to be in the
But
same cases as Missouri, where their schedule is going to make them look a lot better than what they actually are.
exactly.
Which we'll get back to Ole Miss in a second because they might be a certain game of the week. Which, hey, dang, I'm doing good on segues this week.
Oh, also, I forgot I had a note about Vandy and Real or Fake.
Yeah.
I don't know if they just turned the page and
Mhm.
like turned a corner, a new leaf, whatever you want to say that they turned.
Yeah.
After that loss to Georgia State, or if that's still something that they're very well capable of, and they're just one of those just like low floor, high ceiling type teams. That's the only thing that would maybe hinder me from saying Vandy's kind of Real or Fake.
Yeah.
They could definitely
Still have one of those performances again.
another one or two stinkers, but I mean they've lost to Georgia State and they've beaten Alabama. How many times has anyone been able to say that?
Yeah.
But
Georgia State.
I mean Northern Illinois beating
Yeah.
Notre Dame, and which Notre Dame not as good of a team as Alabama is, but I don't know. I'd say that's something I wanted to throw out there as just a precaution for Vandy is that they might still have that in their bag somewhere, but
very well.
I still think that they're a bowl team for sure. 6-6, 7-5, somewhere in there. I think is where Vandy's going to end up finishing.
Yeah. Well, we'll jump into the Week 7 slate. Got a great slate this weekend.
It is very good.
We'll lead off talking about Texas, 14.5-point favorites in the Red River Shootout. Texas, Oklahoma, 48.5 is the total. Just reading that out loud, I like the over.
Yeah. It always feels like that game there's going to be at least high 50s, low 60s points.
I feel like that game's always usually a pretty high scoring game.
Yeah, except for that one year where Texas got shut out.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
I think
Spencer Rattler did that to him, didn't he? Or was I might be wrong.
Might have been.
Might be wrong. I can't remember.
But I think
or was it the other way around? Did Oklahoma get shut out? One of them got shut out. I
remember that.
My brain's fighting itself right now. But
I think you're not going to see Texas look ahead here.
No.
I think Texas rolls, easily covers.
Yeah.
I don't think Oklahoma's got the dogs to keep up with them. And
I don't either. And I'll get to that.
Texas is going to have back-to-back big week. Let's see how they handle this. I mean, This is the biggest spot Texas has been in about 20 or 15 years.
Yeah.
Back to the number one team in the country.
And this is a game you got to win.
Yep.
Handedly, too.
Yeah. And
there's nothing they want to do more than beat Oklahoma by a solid 60 points. And I feel like they honestly could. Because I'm simply not sold on Oklahoma.
Next, as I kind of was hinting at, my Real or Fake game of the week.
Two massively fake teams, I think.
Ole Miss, 3.5-point favorites going into Baton Rouge to face the LSU Tigers. 61.5 is the total. I think this could be. I got Ole Miss on upset alert. I think Vegas is telling you they're on upset alert.
Yeah. I'm staying so far away from this game.
I am too. I was way too scared to take it. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of was.
One cutter low and inside. Eat your heart out.
I haven't loved what I've seen out of Ole Miss.
Somebody said hollow like half an hour ago.
Let's go.
Who was Holland?
It's Cam, I think.
Cam Saletti.
Yeah.
Oh, what's up, C. Saletti? The linebackers coach at God, what's his school called? Scholastic.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And
coaching at the book fair.
Yep. We were talking some X's and O's earlier in the week.
There you go.
He was telling me that they might switch to being an option team, and he
Oh,
wants
let's
to
go.
flip to the other side of the ball now.
Yeah, I bet.
Man, that man loves him some triple option. But yeah, I think this could be high upset alert. And I know we were very bullish on the Tigers, but I just something is screaming to me that LSU is going to find a way to win this football game.
I don't like either of these games.
I don't like.
Do we have to pick a winner in each of these games? Because I just simply.
I mean,
do
it
not want
doesn't
to.
count for anything.
Oh, I know, but
I'm going to pick LSU just to be fun, even though it's going against my wallet.
I'm gonna pick Ole Miss just for the sake of my under 9.5 win total for LSU.
Yeah.
They got to lose somewhere.
Yeah. And that leads straight into probably what is the game of the week.
It might be the game of the season.
Ohio State 3-point favorites heading into Eugene, Oregon to take on the Ducks. 54.5. I like Ohio State in this spot. I don't know how much I trust Oregon.
This is another one I'm staying.
Gambling wise, I'm staying away from.
I have a bet on this game. It's a little different, but it's just the thing about Ohio State is we look at obviously a lot of people base their opinions on teams that they haven't been able to watch a whole lot on stats. Who the hell has Ohio State played up until the Iowa game?
Pretty much.
They were down 3-0 to Akron at one point earlier in the season. I know that. I mean, it played Marshall.
I just took a peek.
I don't know what to expect fully out of Ohio State yet. Is the thing. Obviously, we know about the rushing attack. We know about Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka and that
I know they haven't really played anybody, but they don't let anybody score.
No, I agree, but that's the thing is how inflated are those numbers?
Yeah.
Their offense, we know how good it is. Their defense,
which is supposed to be the big improvement on that team, but you're right in saying that. You don't truly know.
We don't know.
Are we going to trust that against Iowa and Michigan State? Those are probably the two best teams they played so far.
And this is an Oregon team that early on in the season was kind of it was in some close games that they shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
But it's not because they were letting teams score all over the place.
They just couldn't find the end zone.
Exactly. They were moving the ball well and everything. They couldn't score the football. And now they started to figure that out. But that's another team that was not letting a whole lot of people, or not letting a whole lot of points on the board for basically any of their games, unless I'm forgetting something crazy. But
no,
I want to lean Oregon in this game. I just don't. I don't have the confidence either way to pick a winner. But for the sake of it, I'd say Oregon. Plus, you give them game day in a home field too, in one of the toughest places to play in all of college football.
Yeah, outside of the
zoo.
The two kind of scares Oregon had, they handled Oregon State, they handled UCLA, they handled Michigan State.
But that Idaho game, there was a lot of kinks they were working out.
And then Boise. I mean, we just talked about Boise State being a playoff team, so it's not like that's a bad game.
They struggled against honestly, at this point, potentially the best player in college football.
Yeah, arguably the Heisman winner at this given
He's
moment.
my Heisman winner. If the season ended right now, Ashton Genty is the runaway Heisman winner. So that's, no one has shown
to you anytime I got to say his name.
Ashton Genty is his name.
Uh-huh.
Learn it now.
I mean, I know it. I just can't say it.
But no one's figured out how to stop Genty yet.
No, they have not.
The only loss on Boise State's schedule is to Oregon, and what was a pretty good football game. So, and it's not like Oregon really had a bunch of answers for Genty, but they figured out a way to win that game, which no one else has done yet. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'd probably lean Oregon in this game, bias aside, just because I've always been an Oregon guy. But I think it's going to be the game of the year. Regular season at least.
Very well could be. If not, it might be the matchup next week. Which I need to, after I do my pick six, I'm going to look at next week's slate a little bit. But I'm just going to go ahead and move us to our pick six.
Yep. We're not going to hit this last game?
Oh, Jesus.
There you go.
Thank you, Paul. Jesus Christos. Last on the slate that we had highlighted, I had this game bounced. I thought about doing USC and Penn State, but I don't really trust USC's kind of lost. Yeah.
I think Penn State is the most underrated team in the country.
This line kind of led me to be like, all right, hey, let's do this game. Yeah. Iowa State 3.5-point favorites at West Virginia. We'll talk about this game again later in the show for other reasons.
Oh yeah.
53.5 is the total. I think this is a prove it spot for Iowa State. I know West Virginia isn't like, hey, got to worry about them down the line, but they're not a bad football team.
No.
I think this is a spot where Iowa State could really just prove, like, if they can come out and take care of business in a big way, this would be big for them, as the rest of their schedule's kind of cake
Yeah.
for the most part, especially with how down the Big 12 looks.
They're just cannibalizing each other, but they seem to be them and to a lesser extent BYU seem to be the only two teams.
Yeah,
so
and they don't
far
play
that-
each other in the regular season.
Exactly.
So I think Iowa State takes care of business here, but I would not be surprised if this game is close at the end.
Yeah, I think honestly that spread is about right on the money. I think it's going to be a tight game.
Yeah.
I think Iowa State's going to have to survive this game more than just go out there and pound them and win the game.
How do I go to that 3.5 when
Because West Virginia they're just, I mean, I don't know. They're just one of those sneaky teams. I mean, we saw what they did to, albeit a bad Oklahoma State team, but I mean, they just had their way with them.
Yeah.
So, but this is, aside from the Penn State game,
It's 2.5, not 3.5. I don't know where I got.
I thought you said
3.5.
2.5.
All right, well maybe I did.
I
I,
think
wrote
you
down
said,
2.5.
I think you said 2.5.
Because we're gonna talk about this game 3 separate times.
Yeah. But West Virginia, outside of the Penn State game, which is obviously non-conference anyways, this is their biggest game on the schedule so far.
Yeah.
I'd say they're going to be up for this game.
Yeah,
they're going to be. Their
At
players are going to be up
home.
for this game. Their fans are going to be
Tough,
up for this
yeah,
game.
tough place to play.
I've said it multiple times on the show already this season, but it's one of my favorite environments in college football because those people are just lunatics.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I do like Iowa State in this game. I just think they're going to just end up at the end just being too much for them.
Well,
but yeah,
we'll jump right into the pick six. On that topic of liking Iowa State, I have as one of my plays, I got Iowa State minus 2.5. No need to talk about who they're playing because we've already done that. I also am taking BYU at home minus 4.5 against Arizona. I know Arizona's a decent team. I thought that line's a little too low for how BYU's looked so far this year. Bow. Yeah, that's about how that came out. Next, I got Rutgers at home against Wisconsin. Rutgers minus 2.5 to play there. I think they take care of business. Wisconsin ain't very good.
No.
I got Clemson minus 20.5 at Wake Forest. I like them by probably 4 or 5 touchdowns.
I almost took that game. I'm still pissed off about Wake beating State over the weekend. So I was like, I've seen what they can do, which isn't a whole lot because State's not good. But
taking another team fighting for the Big 12 there. Utah only 4.5-point favorites at Arizona State. Give me Utah.
I almost took that just verbatim, that exact same.
That terrifies me that you
but-
almost took 2 of these.
Well, I wasn't even scared off it. I was just like, Arizona State is just. I feel like they're one of those teams that no one ever really knows a whole lot about.
Yeah,
But they always just randomly have some
kind of game.
weird game that they just show up and actually play football. And so I just betting against Arizona State, it always just makes me feel weird. I don't like it.
Yeah. Last game I got, we didn't highlight it, but Penn State minus 3.5 at USC. I think Penn State takes care of business there. USC
light work, yeah.
has not looked as good as we thought they would look, and God bless it, Tigers. How does he get jammed on the hands and just hit a rope?
That's Stephen Kwan. Just puts bat in the ball.
Hit
It's
the
great.
Kwan.
Insane. He finds
the
the barrel from
Kwan.
anywhere.
I want to get down low.
Swing your arms.
Yeah. That is roll back through it real quick, but Iowa State minus 2.5, BYU minus 4.5, Rutgers minus 2.5, Clemson minus 20.5, Utah minus 4.5, Penn State minus 3.5. Hoping to have a better week than the 2-4 week I had last week.
All right, let's do it. I'm going to start off with one that's actually happening as we speak right now. Maybe we'll have. We'll have
I almost took it.
A pigskin pick'em throwback
Mhm.
to just my live bets during the show. What you know about Tulane Houston. But Coastal at James Madison currently happening right now. There's 2 minutes left in the first half. I have the over at 60.5, and currently the total is at 36. So it's looking all right now. I need Coastal to figure out how to play offense because passing the ball, their quarterback is 4 of 13 for 82 yards, a touchdown,
Yep.
and a pick. But James Madison's got 29 points already, and I don't think that in a game like this they're going to want to really slow down a whole lot.
I got scared off of James Madison, and I'm now seeing the score. Obviously, hindsight being 2020, I really wish I took that.
Yeah, that's a team coming off a loss that they think they shouldn't have had.
Yeah.
To a team that I'll get to here in just a second. But what I saw going into this was Coastal, I think, was 4-1 this season as far as hitting overs.
Yeah.
Like just in being in games where they hit the over.
Average second half from them. Just
exactly.
Kind of just keep in the game.
Exactly. And then we saw James Madison score 70 on Carolina, and then they put up 60-something the following week against, I can't remember who it was, but it's a team that is prone to score a bunch of points. And so that just felt like a solid, even though it was in the 60s. I was like, that just feels all right. Moving on to the Red River Shootout. I ended up having Texas minus 14.5 against Oklahoma.
I like the play.
I think Texas wins this game handedly. This game, a lot of the time, is just a classic every year. But every so often you get a year where it's just simply one team is overmatched.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the case is for Oklahoma this weekend. I think Texas is just going to have their way. So 14.5 felt perfectly fine. Let's go to some action. Some Saturday at noon action. Ball State minus 6.5 at Kent State. I think Kent State is an absolutely wretched football team. And whatever that number was, if it was single digits, I was probably going to take it. Ball State's not that good either, but I think a touchdown is plenty for me. All they got to do is win by 7, and I think that they're going to at least. Moving on, I got a huge spread. Army minus 25.5.
I did see that
against UAB. UAB is, you want to talk about wretched football programs?
Yeah, they are not very
Trent
good.
Dilfer's seat is scorching hot at the moment.
Burns your buns off.
A horrible hire, and he's proving it right now. And Army is just beating the hell out of teams. So I think 25.5. I think they might win this game by 40. UAB just had 71 hung on them. But against a Tulane team that we know is good, but this Army team we've seen so far is also very good and somehow, some way can score the ball.
Yeah,
and it's awesome. So give me the troops all day. Moving on to a goofy one here. Ohio State at Oregon. A little player prop action. He's the betting favorite to score an anytime touchdown is Jordan James. I got to get on the board somehow.
Yeah.
Give me a Jordan James rushing touchdown from like the 2.
Yeah.
All day long.
I'm probably going to make you use your alternate for it.
Oh, no, I'm going to. I was going to do it anyways. I got my
Which I do, and it's mainly because I almost did your alternate as well. I even though it's against our bets on that team, like I love them in this spot.
No, I completely agree. We'll get to that in a second. Moving on to the team that just beat James Madison, the Louisiana Monroe Warhawks are a good football team.
Yeah.
And I kind of saw it coming a little bit going into the season. I didn't fully expect it to actually happen. But I got them minus 6.5 against Southern Miss. It just feels like that a touchdown there is perfectly fine.
Doable.
That's my pick 6, but I got to throw an extra point in there too because he's against the player props. But
I love it. I love it. I almost did it myself. I love this pick.
The Colorado Buffaloes are hosting Kansas State this week, and I am not at all sold on Kansas State. Like we both were going into the season.
Yeah.
We thought we both thought that they were the conference champion in the Big 12. That doesn't seem to be the case, at least currently. Colorado showed some vast improvements on the road in Orlando against UCF.
Mm-hmm.
I like them in this spot. I think this is a game that obviously they sell out just about every game.
Yeah.
This one's going to be rowdy, I think. It just feels good. I don't know what it is about it.
Yeah.
Probably the fact that Colorado's looked hot lately and Kansas State hasn't.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I'm going to pick the home team to beat the team that hasn't looked very good. But that's what I got. My extra point on the pick 6 is Colorado money line against Kansas State. I had to throw a money line in there somewhere.
I love the pick.
It just feels so good.
So we got a real or fake question from the chat directed for Jacob.
Okay.
Real or fake? The Detroit Tigers.
I'm going to take a guess on who that's from. Hope your team's having fun playing golf right now. We still got a half inning to go.
And a whole
Top
other
of our
game.
lineup and a whole nother game. And you know who's pitching for the Tigers tomorrow?
School.
Dub Tigers. Let's go Tigers.
Yeah.
It looks like there's a lot of stuff in the chat. So yeah.
Also, chat wants to know. Well, part of that's me, Zach. We're having a
Oh.
conversation. Chat also likes the play of LSU plus 10.5, according to.
Where is
According
he
to
getting?
Zach-
Where is he getting 10.5?
Oh, he doesn't even trust his own team to win either. That's
I
crazy.
don't know.
I did not see 10.5.
Pick a money line, Zach.
10.5.
Let your nuts drag.
Did I get the
Information.
spread
He's
wrong?
also requested our presence on NCAA football after this.
Yeah,
He's gonna have to wait.
He's gonna have to wait.
Oh, yeah.
We got plenty to do tonight. Where is he getting 10.5? Are you drunk?
on college football 25.
Yeah,
bro.
they're 3.5 point underdogs. What are you talking about? Well, I'll let you go into your Jersey matchups, and then we'll kind of wrap up here.
Well, there's one that we already touched on, not even necessarily for the matchup, just for a single uniform alone. I've been waiting on these ever since they unveiled them in the offseason. West Virginia's bringing out I can't remember exactly what their name of them are, but basically they're coal miner uniforms, where they're just basically all black and charcoal gray. They look so good.
Yeah.
They're going to be wearing those against Iowa State this week. Again, I don't know exactly who all's wearing what. I think this week, is it this weekend or next weekend? Western Kentucky's wearing the big red eyes helmets.
I think it's next.
I think that's next weekend. I think this weekend is I don't know. But be on the lookout for that soon. I know that.
Paul, you've been challenged. Zach will take LSU money line if you pick Ole Miss money line. According to
Well, when
Zach.
we were going through games, I did pick Ole Miss.
Yeah.
There you
They
go.
said gambling show and the host have never heard of an alternate spread.
I figured it was
Why
an
are you
alternate spread.
taking an
But
alternate
why are you
spread?
giving yourself an entire touchdown from the normal spread?
Yeah,
It's
you're
crazy.
dropping the value of it. That's just not a smart play.
But just classic uniform matchup. There's two of them: Texas, Oklahoma, obviously.
Yeah,
But Penn State, USC, also. That's just
that is a classic.
old timey
yeah.
football. Let's see. I didn't get a chance to prepare for this. God, poor Mississippi State. Ohio State and Oregon. I think Oregon's rocking the yellows this week, which is going to be nice on the Ohio State white and silver.
Stay fair. Let's go.
That's basically. There's not really a whole lot of great ones. Ole Miss, LSU, depending on what either of those teams wear,
Yeah.
could be good. I don't.
LSU will probably wear white.
I prefer LSU's purples to their whites.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. Zach, you can speak whatever nonsense you want about that. But that's basically all I got for uniform matchups. I mean, if you're into two teams wearing the same thing, Rutgers, Wisconsin, Pitt and Cal. Pitt, obviously, in the last few years has gone more royal blue. That's really all I got there. There's not a whole lot of good stuff. I don't know. Memphis USF has potential, depending on what one of 14 alternates each school has, what they'll be wearing. But that's all I got uniform matchup wise. Just needed to highlight the West Virginia uniforms.
Well, that'll pretty much wrap up week 7 of the Down East Sports College Football Show. Big matchups in week 8. Couple things I'm going to run through here, just some branding and stuff like that. Look out for a NHL preview sometime this week from the two of us. Same old deal. If you're on Twitter, retweet, tweet at us, follow us, please. Share with a friend. Trying to grow the brand. YouTube, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can hit the music.
One final comment
go ahead.
from the chat. Zach likes the white helmet, purple jersey, white pants for LSU. This is his favorite.
It is
That is good. I like the gold though. I like gold, purple, gold for LSU. That's always solid. Also, in the name of things to look out for. We're gonna start figuring out what to do for college basketball coming up soon. So be on the lookout for that in the near future as well.
Yeah, no, that was a comment I got from some people we know personally. They wanted to hear us talk about more sports, even though knowing this was a college football show.
Yeah,
but,
we're gonna dive in. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll be hitting on new sports. So yeah, just keep on following. If you want to see us do stuff, feel free to let us know. You can hit the music if you want, Matt. But yeah, that pretty much does it for week 7 of the Down East Sports College Football Show. I'm Jacob Miller. He's Paul Phillips. Matt Jones behind the mic. Matt Jones. I'm gonna hopefully watch the Tigers try to find a way to hit a home run right here and tie this game up. We'll see y'all next week.